We are live on YouTube. So big hello to all the YouTube people also who are watching this session. And today we are having Susan ma'am with us. And first of all, I would like to tell you, ma'am, that this session is a completely informal session. And all the people joining in this session are from Art of Living itself. So, and we are having a mission. The mission is to bring smile in each and every face we see and creating a stress free and a violence free society where everyone is happy, smiling. And this is the Gurudev's vision, and the Gurudev's vision is only our mission, and we are going towards it. And that's why we keep this session very casual and candid type, like a teacher and a volunteer are sitting and we are discussing lot many things about life and all. And I just to take the opportunity to introduce you also to the group. Many people know you, but still. So talking about Susan ma'am, she is a young dynamic faculty of Art of Living. She is a social worker with with training in business. She has 20 years of experience of working in community development, social policy, research spanning India, Canada, and US. She has joined Art of Living in 2012. Currently, she is a full-time director with SKY Schools program of Art of Living, International Association of Human Values, IAHV, which we call. She has brought Art of Living practices to youth, homeless shelters, mental health clinics, schools, addiction centers, and community centers. Her journey is an example where a yes mind can take you. And today we are having a very interesting topic also, which is embracing the unexpected. So, in the art of living, obviously, many things we see which are unexpected. So, can you just talk more about it? How we can embrace it? Yes.
Um, I feel like my whole life has been about working really hard, having a plan, and then just going with whatever happens. So nothing that I've planned has ever happened. And yet, life has given me so many different beautiful opportunities that I never could have imagined for myself. And so I think it's really just having that yes mind. And when something comes, when we say yes, we have no idea where it will take us. And for me, it's taken me so many beautiful places.
Uh, as a volunteer, see, in India, we have like, okay, there are so many people, we are surrounded by spirituality. But staying in Canada, obviously, like we have a left mind and a right mind, like emotional mind and a logical mind, in easy words, we say. So, coming in spirituality, how was your journey? And before coming into art of living, means what was your personality and how it changed and who introduced you? We would like to know more about your journey. So if you
Sure.
can please tell.
I was um I was really lucky in that even as I was a small child, I always prayed. I didn't know who I was praying to. I didn't come from a family where everybody prayed, but I would always talk to God at night. And I had no concept of what this was. So my growing up in Canada, my grandmother's solution back in Trinidad was she told my mom, "Oh, just take her to the church." So I would just go to the church down the street. And it seemed like my whole life I would just go with somebody to wherever their place of worship was. So first it was the church down the street. And then I made a friend who was Mormon and he took me to the Mormon church. And I knew I wasn't Mormon, but I liked to be with people that were prayerful and had prayer in their heart. And then I had a friend whose father was trying to convince her to go to Balvikas, which I used to call the Hindu Sunday school. And she refused to go. But I was so excited to learn that I ended up going. And so the two of us went every Sunday, and I still didn't really have a concept of what God or religion or spirituality was. It was just something that I always did. And my grandmother was deeply spiritual and very, very, very religious. And so I would go to Trinidad and have these beautiful experiences of these pujas, and she would have pujas for like 9 days for Navratri. And I had no understanding of what they were, but I would go and it was so beautiful just to share that and be with her. And then I would come back to Canada and not really know how that fit. Um, so it was something that I was always really seeking. And I was really drawn initially to that, the aspect of the ritual and the puja, because that was the only thing that I knew. And I would stumble over the mantras, and every time I try to speak Hindi, they laugh at me. Like, I speak like a 5-year-old child. And but I just kept coming back to it over and over again. And I started off with Satya Sai Baba's mission and Prashanti Neelam, and then I journeyed onwards from there to the Chinmaya mission, which for me was much more diverse and broad and accepting of people that didn't speak Hindi. And then from there, I just had this deep craving for silence. I had been in this 12-year relationship with someone who was from an Indian family and always made me really feel like I needed to try and be what this person wanted me to be. And then it was over, and I was left in this place where I really had no idea what I wanted. I would like cry in the grocery store because I couldn't even think about what I wanted for myself to eat. And I just had this deep craving for silence. And it was pretty funny because I was looking at silent retreats and I was doing med school interview prep for a friend of mine, someone I barely knew. And she said, "Oh, you should go to this one because there's the guru." And I was like, "Oh, the guru." I was like, that is not a selling feature for me. I've heard about gurus. But I don't know, I watched a few videos and I was like, he seems pretty nice. And I signed up, and we were set to register together. So I registered, and then she called me and said, "Oh, my parents won't let me go. I can't go. You'll have to go by yourself." And it was a 9-day silent retreat in the ashram with Gurudev. and, and I had
What
no
triggered
idea what
you
it
actually
was.
to go? Means what was the triggering point? Ki, okay, now I should go, because generally we see most of the people repel gurus and all. They get scared. So what was the point that brought you in this side?
I think it was purely intuition. I looked at some YouTube videos of him, and just his presence was so peaceful and safe. And I had such a strong intuitive feeling about it that this is something I needed to do. And so many things happened. Like she canceled on me, but I had already registered. And so I was like, well, okay. And then they wrote me back and they said, "Have you done the happiness program?" And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And there was one program left. So I signed up for it. And I showed up on the first day and they said, "Well, we're going to cancel this program because there's not enough people." And I said, "No, you can't cancel it." Because it was on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I was leaving on Tuesday to go to the ashram for my 9-day silence. So they did the course just for me. There was it was 3 other people. So they did it just for the 4 of us because they knew I needed the course before Tuesday. And then I got on the plane and I flew across the country, and I got to the airport, and the lady at the registration desk goes, "Jai Gurudev." And I said, "What?" And she said, "Have you done a happiness course?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she said, "When did you do this?" And I was like, day before yesterday. And she jumped out of her seat and she gave me a great big hug, and she's like, "I'm so happy for you." And I was like, "Thank you." I had no idea. And my mom was calling me. She said, "Are you safe? You're with these people. You don't know them. Are you sure this is safe?" And I just said to her, I said, "I don't know, Mom, but they're so happy." And off I went. And I remember there was only 200 of us in the meditation hall. And Gurudev came in, and I was sitting at the back of the hall, and I was just sitting there going, "He's so cute. He's so funny." I had no idea. I was still trying to get out of the ashram one day early so I could go back to work because I didn't understand how special it was. I was lucky that there was no way to get out, and I ended up staying the whole time because it was 9 days of silence and then his birthday celebration. And by the end of that 9 days, I was I was pretty in. I knew I had found my place.
Uh, like when we meet a guru or some means some power comes within us. I feel that. Tell us some of your experience of life in which you have felt ki there is something which I can rely upon, something which is taking care of me. Like you have been in art of living in a means you for a bit long time. So tell us some experience in which you have felt that guru grace or the presence of it.
It's hard to think of just one because I feel like it's a constant. It's every single morning, every single day. I I mean, it just in this pandemic, there are so many people who are so worried and so concerned, and they really believe that they don't know when this is going to get better or if it's going to get better. And I feel like I know with certainty that it is. And that's not because of me, but it's because I have a guru and I have this grace that takes care of me. And I think it's enabled me to walk through many difficult things um, without being swallowed up by that fear and despair. About this time last year, we had an international consortium in Mexico where all of the Sky Schools programs had come together. And I started to get sick, and I got progressively sicker. And all through February, my eyes were hurting, my head was hurting. I thought maybe I just need glasses, so I got these glasses. But then turns out my prescription is really small, and it still got worse and worse and worse. And I went to so many, 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 many doctors. I had scans of my brain, everything, and nothing was really getting better. It turns out that I had a shingles virus that damaged the nerves in my brain, and it's still in pain. Like every day there's pain. But I managed to go through that whole journey, the uncertainty of not knowing, the doctor's visits, and even now still living every day with this pain in my brain, which is a pretty important part of my body, and just trusting that it's going to be okay. And looking back at all of the things that I've been able to do in this past year, even amidst all of this pain. I mean, if you don't believe in grace or guru, I look back at this last year. I've been in pain all day, every day for the last year, and I managed to finish my PhD, do my Art of Living teacher training, do my Shusha Yoga teacher training, and work full time for the organization, for the International Association of Human Values. All of this while in this pain, and I look back at that, and that's not me. that's grace carrying me through and letting me know that I am not this body and that my purpose is like bigger than whatever I may be experiencing in my physical body. So that's the most recent example that comes to mind.
That's amazing. There, when we see art of living, when some first of all, thanks that that course didn't get cancelled. If it got cancelled, this session wouldn't had happened, I guess. And now you're doing so many things in so many verticals. But when we see people generally take it only for like it's good for my health, like I'm doing some yoga and all, but art of living has various dimensions like IAHV is there, and they are means it has been growing in various different verticals. So how this seva part came in your life? Because generally we see people doing kriya and going out and working and earning money and again sleeping. This cycle goes on. but how this seva and volunteering came in your mind ki I should do something which is benefiting the society and all, and how you explored all the other things in your life.
I feel like that was also grace. That was actually one of the very first things that drew me to Art of Living. I actually remember in my first course where I was sitting watching the Love Moves the World video and seeing all of the work that they were doing and thinking that I wanted to be a part of that. And it was very difficult for me because in Canada, we don't have very many social programs developed. Art of Living is very much still a personal development program. And I was one day at the ashram doing seva, and I was like just cleaning all the mops in one of the rooms. And it was also, this is just another example of grace. Like my grandmother had just passed away. She was the closest person to me. I was completely distraught. I didn't know what to do. So I went to see Gurudev and I was doing seva, cleaning mops. And someone was walking down the hallway and said, you know, I got this grant to work with youth in one of the indigenous communities. And I said, oh, that's perfect. You need to evaluate it. Because if we don't evaluate it, we won't be able to show that it works. And she just said, yeah, can you do that? And I said, yes, I will do that. And then I just did it. I put it all together. And as I was building this evaluation plan, she introduced me to people in the US, the researchers and the executive director in the US. And they would just randomly call me and say, can you do this? And I said, yeah, I can do it. And I just kept saying yes. And then eventually he called and he says, can you go to New Jersey for a few weeks and run a research project? And I was like, yes. So I was like, so I'm flying to another country to volunteer, which technically isn't allowed, for someone that I don't know in a place where I've never been with a group of people I don't know for a program I know nothing about, and living with people that I don't know. So I just said yes, and I hopped on a plane and off I went. And I just kept doing that until now it became my full-time work. And I think if you have if you have that awareness to see for the opportunities, they'll always emerge. Like every time I'm working with somebody, if they talk about a population that's in need, I can say, yes, let's do breath, water, sound. I'm one of the only people in Canada that teaches breath, water, sound workshops. And we have taught with people with mental illnesses. I've taught with people in the youth shelters. I've taught with people after the natural disasters. And it's just having that awareness in your mind that we have this beautiful tool that can be delivered. Most people think of Art of Living only as happiness, and they don't even have the awareness that there's so many other ways and fully built programs that we can offer.
Absolutely.
And it's simple, but breath, water, sound is powerful.
Actually, where means you are in a very sensitive area, because the people who are having some mental illness and who are like just came out of trauma and all, we see that they are not in a listening mode, first of all. And how you bring those people to the listening mode, and how you tell them, because generally we see like the people who are suffering from something, they don't listen, or they want us to listen their whole story. So how you approach and how you bring them down?
For me, I've always partnered with organizations. So the organizations do more of building the stability with the individuals. But it's that balance of leading always with love and belongingness. And when they feel comfortable, they know that you're there because you love them. They know that you're not judging them. Absolutely, they want to share their story. So you give little spaces to share their story. But you also give them these tools. And once they have the tools, they understand that their story isn't who they are. And when they understand that, something shifts in how they see themselves. And it starts with how we see them. If I walk into a homeless shelter and I think I'm here to help you because you need me, that's not going to work. But if I walk in and I'm like, I look at you and I see beautiful, wonderful souls, I'm here to share with you what brings me joy, then it shifts with them. And they'll test you. I've had like in the shelter, they're doing Buster Cut like this. And they're on the floor doing Buster Cut like this. And but if I don't get mad and I can be firm but loving, then it falls into place. And also Gurudev says, like, no one ever teaches a course alone. I am always there with you. And so there's so much grace when you choose to put yourself out of your comfort zone, especially to help somebody else. It's just so beautiful. Actually, if I can tell a funny story.
Yes, we want to listen.
I was in one of the youth shelters, and it was a difficult crowd, and so you really have to bring a lot of energy. And I was very energetically demonstrating a game, and I fell backwards and I hit my head, and I gave myself a concussion for like 6 months. 4 months I couldn't do anything, but it took me almost a year to fully recover. But that day, for the first time ever out of all the months I was in that shelter, every single person in that class was meditating. It was so beautiful. And they would tell me, they would say, you know, what do you know about me? And I'd be like, I don't know anything about you. What do you know about me? They would say, I don't know anything, but I know that you care. And that's the only reason they would come back. It's Gurudev says, love is your very existence. And if you can let go of your fear and your apprehension and your judgment and just allow yourself to be love, people come.
Yes. Generally, means you have worked with so many students also. You work in schools so that we can promote the art of living courses there. So in students today, we see there is a lot of aggression because, like in the movies, also we see like there are so many guns are there, like there is violence and all. So as a art of living teacher, you interact with them. So we means personally, I see a very dark future when I see those students who are like fully into violence and all. So what changes have you seen after like you gave them this amazing course? And how we can also help them as a volunteers of art of living?
Beautiful. So I actually do more of the management and research. So I don't spend all of my time in schools. I teach mostly the adults, but I have worked in some of our schools, and I have worked with gang involved youth. And so I would say that in all of our schools, so the Sky Schools program has been operating for about 12 years. We teach Sudarshan Kriya. We teach all of the grades from 4 years old all the way up. We teach everybody in the school, the parents, the teachers, the staff, the security guard, the janitor, the person in the cafeteria. And I think what makes it so effective is the presence of our teachers. They're so firm in their sadhana, they're so firm in their knowledge, they're so firm in that, established in that love, that just their presence in the school shifts the school. And when you walk into a classroom with that, you allow the students to see themselves as love instead of seeing themselves as something that's bad, as something that's wrong. And that seems really intangible, but it really is what makes the difference. And like, there's an example that comes to mind for me. There was a young girl in one of our schools, and it was elementary school, so quite young, and she was pregnant from abuse. And what happened was the schools didn't know what to do with her. She had been to all of the counselors. Nobody could help her. She had started cutting herself, and she wouldn't talk to anybody. And so at the last resort, they sent her to our teacher. And just with that little bit of, we don't counsel them, we just love them and breathe with them. And this young lady would come knocking on the door and pull the teacher out of classroom every time she got panicked. And they would just breathe for a few minutes. And she kept doing that. And eventually she stopped cutting herself. She started to open up and said what had been done to her so that she could get help. And she just completely changed. And the mother came to school and said, "What have you done to my daughter? Like, I've never seen her this way." And so she was able to, I think it's part of it is just seeing them with love and not seeing them as a problem, and then being present. So always available to just even 5 minutes of breathing with this girl to help her see that this is a tool that could work. And then teaching her those tools so she could use it at home, she could use it with her friends. And it just completely shifted her. And because she was pregnant, shifted her and the life of her child. And we see this consistently. In another school in New Jersey, they had a group of students, they call them the talent development group. And this is students that were always involved with drugs and violence, and people that have teenage pregnancies, people that were very much too old for the normal curriculum. And there was so much fighting in the school. They said, "Oh, we don't know what to do." So they brought us in. So in the second semester, they did the Sahaj Samadhi course with them. So they did meditation every day for 6 weeks. And then not just for that 6 weeks, but over the course of the next 5 months, they saw a 90% decrease in the amount of disciplinary infractions like suspensions, the number of times people were fighting, 90%. And this was the highest group in the school. And when you ask the students why, they said because they would recognize when they were feeling angry. They didn't have that awareness. So once they had the awareness of what was happening in their body and what they were feeling, then they had the tools to use to manage those emotions. And so they could calm themselves down. And then because the teachers had the same training and the students had the same training, they would come together and they would talk things out instead of fighting things out. And so it's that beautiful combination of making people aware, because sometimes people are fighting because they don't even know. They don't know any other thing to do. They just are full of emotions and they don't know what to do with the emotions. So bringing them awareness and then giving them tools and then showing an alternative. And all of this with love and role modeling. We can't ask anybody to do what we don't do. And it was amazing. And we see this in every school. So if you want to be a part of it, I would just say, if you're in North America, you can contact us at Sky Schools and we can support you to bring this to your school. If you're in another part of the world, I would connect with your local IHV. And if you don't have one, you can contact me, and we can help you figure out how to bring it to your schools. Because this Sky Schools program is spread like wildfire. They're training hundreds of teachers in Mexico. In Ecuador, they're bringing it to all of the schools, starting with the preschool and kindergartens. In the state of Bahia in Brazil, they're bringing it to all of the schools, and they're training all of their police force. They've trained more than 3,000 police officers. And the police officers come to work, they do their Kriya, and then they go out. So they come to work, they do their Kriya with the 4 people that are in their unit, and then they go out as a unit. They've seen a 50% decrease in the number of sorry, in the number of people that die in civilian and police conflict because these police officers are doing their kriya before they go out. So that was a really long answer, but obviously something I really care about. I think anybody can do it if you're interested. If there's even a small part of your heart that wants to reach out to any population, just raise your hand and ask for help, and we will help you. I was literally cleaning mops on the in a bucket, and I raised my hand, and this is where I've come 3 years later. So
As we are talking about giving courses to policemen, and in this sessions also many times I get question ki, I have to show aggression, and there is a big conflict that okay, showing aggression is a good thing or a bad thing, because generally people think that if I am very calm, smiling and happy, the people will take advantage of me, so I have to be tough while I'm working, or while I'm in office. If I'm smiling a lot, that means I'm very free and I have no work, so I have to make that. So what is your perspective, like anger is good or bad? What do you think? And because many times, like in lawyers have also asked this to me, like in my profession I have to be bit aggressive. If I don't show it, then obviously I will have some weak points. So for that, what do you want to suggest?
I think, well, there's two knowledge points that are coming to my mind, and one is don't be a football of other people's opinions. If you're happy, be happy. If people think you're a pushover, let them think whatever they want to think, because they'll see through your actions and through the quality of your work what you are. If you can do good work with a smile, nobody's going to question you. And at the same time, I also know Gurudev also says every once in a while you show anger, but you show it, you don't feel it. Right? So sometimes, in some occasions, that's what people will respond to. But as long as you're not bringing that inside and genuinely feeling that anger inside, because then you're just punishing and hurting yourself. Right? But sometimes, with small children, you have to be firm. But you can be firm and loving, but you still have to be firm. And so I think I would say both of those things. There's the quality of what you do is really what people will judge you on. And I can't think of any place where you can't do good quality work without anger and aggression. And I think to show anger in a moment sometimes is effective and needed, but very, very rarely. If you're a lawyer and you don't want people to take advantage of you, don't let them take advantage of you, but do it with a smile. I'm in a predominantly white country as a person of color. I'm a young looking female, so I'm a minority in many ways, and people consistently underestimate me. And there's also my nature is very kind and very sweet. And it's okay if they underestimate me, because at the end of the day, I know the quality of my work, and that speaks for itself. And often they are surprised. They'll be surprised in the end, and that's okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. um, many times, as like you are holding a position and you have done many things for like for the society, but in your journey I guess everything must not be a cakewalk. Many times you have faced rejections also, and as a volunteer, when we are charged up after an advanced course and we go to some people and tell about it, and when they say no, then the energy drops down. obviously when we are going to any institution also, like approaching universities and all, telling like, okay, this is our course and you should do it and like that, and they say ki, no, 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 we are busy, we will do it, we will call you next year, send me an email and we will get back to you. They will say politely, I know, but and they are not approaching back. Then many volunteers form a concept, okay, this have said like this, so everywhere the situation is same. So this has came to you also, I guess, if I'm not wrong, like some tricky situations when you are approaching. So how do you face the no, and how do you bounce back?
I think it's really important because for me, for many, many years, I just did my Art of Living teacher training in September. So I waited almost 9 years to do it. And it's because I had that hesitancy around organizing courses. And but one thing I've learned being in IAHV, where I'm continuously speaking with schools and individuals about the program and trying to bring them on board, and also at the same time organizing happiness courses, is that this really is, yes, we need to help share the knowledge, but really it's a journey and growth for ourselves. How resilient and how established can we be in this knowledge, in this practice? How effective are we in keeping our own prana up, taking care of ourselves so we can role model what we're inviting people to? Because what I found was that when I was less focused on, am I getting people, am I getting registrations, am I selling courses, and I was still doing it, but not so attached to that outcome, just in the last few weeks, people have been calling me and saying, oh, Susan, I know you do that breathing. Can you come to my office and do a program for us? That happened to me 3 times in the last 3 weeks. And I was doing a course and my cousin called me out of the blue. I've been asking her to do the course for 8 years, and all of a sudden she calls me and says, yeah, that link you sent me doesn't work. And I was like, I sent you that link like 6 weeks ago. Of course it doesn't work. And she was like, well, is there a course? I said, well, I'm teaching one if you want. And she said, yeah, I'll do it with you. And she signed up right away. And so I think just always remembering that absolutely we give our 100% when we're organizing and when we're inviting, but that no isn't personal. And it's very rarely a no. It's usually a not yet. And the more we can live as an example of what this practice can give us, what this knowledge can give us, what this community gives us, the more people are drawn to it. People don't want to say yes to someone who's exhausted and stressed out about organizing courses. You go and invite somebody to a course, you're all tired, you're all exhausted, and they're going to be like, right? But when you're taking good care of yourself and your prana is high and your energy is good, your presence is strong, people just, they see the divine in you and they want it.
So you took a very long time to become a teacher, and the people who are thinking the same way, what do you want to tell them? Like, okay, I will take my time and let all the things fall in place. So what do you want to say to them?
No, I would say do it now. Do it now. The teacher training is for you. It's for you to get polished in the best possible way to be your best self. People go and they say, oh, I want to be an instrument of the divine. I want to help bring the knowledge. You can do all of those things as a volunteer. If you want to be a teacher, it's about you being in a place where you're ready to allow yourself to be polished so that you can really live in this knowledge. There's this story about 2 stones, and the sculptor is, chipping away at the stones to make a statue. And one stone is like, oh no, this is so painful, please stop. And so the sculptor said, okay, I don't want to hurt you. The other one, he chips and 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 builds that stone into a beautiful murti. And people come all the time and they offer flowers on this murti. And the other stone is looking and wondering what happened. And that's what teacher training is about. It's about allowing yourself to say yes to the sculptor and saying, yes, sculpt me, mold me into the divine. And if we allow it and say yes, it's the most beautiful thing. So why would we wait? I mean, everything happens in God's time. That's what my grandmother always said. But if you have anything in your mind telling you that you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, it's not right, you haven't done enough, put all of that aside and just go. Allow yourself to be sculpted. It's beautiful.
There's one question that comes in the session is that many people, when they see like the people doing seva and they are going and doing so many things like teaching and all, and they believe that this is not me. They feel very means many people I see they are suffering from inferiority complex. Like I can't do this. Like this is so tough for me. Like in yoga also they feel like okay no let me be in my comfort zone. So, how can people come out of inferiority complex? And have you faced any time inferiority complex in your life, and how you came out in through this
Always.
point?
Oh my. So I just graduated with my PhD. I just defended in December. And I remember I was working at the university in Calgary, and part of my job was to manage a research project. And the funding was only for students, so you had to be a student. So I needed to apply for my PhD. So I was walking down the hallway and I had my application in my hand. And one of the professors came in the hallway and said, "Oh, Susan, what is that?" And I said, "Oh, it's my PhD application." He said, "But you did your master's at the University of Calgary. Why are you doing it, your PhD here?" And I said, he said, "You should go to another school. Go to the University of Toronto. It's a very good school." And I said to him, "Oh my goodness, no, I'm not that smart. They'll never take me." And I heard those words come out of my mouth and I was like, "Oh, wow. Oh, Susan, you can't not even try." So I put together my application and I mailed it out. And I found out that morning that one piece had to be delivered in hard copy. So I called my friend downtown Toronto. I said, "Can you walk down the street and hand this in?" So they went down and they called me back, said, "Susan, the building's closed. It's flooded. I gave it to this lady." I said, "What do you mean you gave it to this lady? What lady?" So I called another friend. I said, "Go downtown, please, and just drop this off." So she went. She said, "The building is closed. It's completely flooded." I put it in the mailbox. I said, "Okay, so now my application's incomplete. The building is flooded." I call the university a few days later. They're like, "We can't find anything. Everything is lost." I said, "Okay." So at least I tried. And then about a week later, they called me back and they accepted me. And I flew across the country. I'm the first person in my family to go to university. And I ended up doing 2 masters and a PhD. And really, it was because I couldn't let myself not even try because I didn't think I was good enough or smart enough. And if I hadn't done my PhD, I wouldn't know anything about research. I wouldn't have been able to evaluate that IHV program. I wouldn't be a research director for the International Association of Human Values and Sky Schools. And so that one little doubt was such an important puzzle piece for everything that I'm doing right now in my life and all of the different ways that I'm able to serve, connected to me recognizing that I was doubting myself and moving forward without it. I think so many things in my life I've been terrified to do but I still do them. So use that awareness to understand, how does it feel in your body when you're feeling doubt? How does it feel in your body when you feel you're not good enough? Just recognizing that feeling will be enough for you to push yourself past that feeling. And when you are able to step past that feeling, that is when the most incredible spiritual growth, personal growth, and service happens. Like, I'm pretty serious, straight, focused person. So for me to step into a homeless shelter full of youth that are, blasting music and dancing, completely out of my comfort zone. But I just had to. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm gonna walk in that room and they're gonna be like, this woman is so not cool. Why is this woman so boring? Why does she want us to breathe? I stepped in despite my discomfort, and I laughed at myself as I danced with them. They also laughed at me. And it turned into something really beautiful, I think, for all of us. And the more you do it, the more you step out of your comfort zone. We call it, in Sky Schools, we call it stepping out of your comfort zone into your courage zone. And the more you step into your courage zone, the more you accomplish and the more you learn that all of these restrictions that we have on ourselves are our own. They're not actually real. There's nothing that we can't do, especially with the divine guru that we have behind us.
One thing that has really inspired, that you are very focused and what you are doing, like you have done your PhD and then you are into research for IAHV. Generally, the tendency we see in the youth and many people, like the people are very feeling based. Something happens, they change. Like, okay, this morning weather is not good and I'm busy, let's miss my kriya. And today in the youth, I am seeing this. I think you have also observed, like the mind fluctuates very fast. Like they're watching a video, they will not complete it, they will switch over to another thing. They, once the mood will come, they will start studying, and then some WhatsApp, Facebook notification, and the things fluctuate. So how to maintain that focus and consistency? And obviously in spiritual path, it is required more, because obviously three stages not very interesting. It requires like a big focus. And obviously with the people who are doing two times Sahaj and Padmasana, it requires more. So how you have built that focus, and what do you think about like the people who are having this feeling based mind, how they can get, because tell us some experience about how you, in your education field also and research field also, how you maintain that focus and what tricks you apply.
Well, I'm not the best example. My grandmother used to say, those who can't listen must feel. And so if you're not going to listen to the good advice, you can feel the pain. And for me, I was very inconsistent because I always thought my work was more important than my sadhana. And we had a natural disaster. We had a big flood. Our whole city was flooded. Lots of people were suffering. And I threw my kriya out the window. I was working all day, 16 hours a day, 17 hours a day, every single day, thinking that I just needed to help these people because they had no homes, they had no food. What would I do? And I got so sick that I couldn't even breathe and walk at the same time. They told me that I had permanent lung damage and I would never be healed. And I went back to my happiness program and I did it again. And through that experience of doing that kriya, that completely healed my lungs and gave me the ability to do that work, I was able to see the difference in my life with it and without it. And when I came to school, students always tell me, I don't have time, I don't have time. But I always tell them, the more I have to do, the more like during exam time, that's when I meditate more. Because when you know the energy and the focus that you can gain from these practices and the state of mind, then you'll never go without it. And so for me, I had to experience that complete suffering of being without it to come back to it and really value and embrace it. I don't recommend that. There's no need to suffer. we have, we have these tools. But I think for young people, what we tell them is we always bring them back to their practice. Whatever is going wrong in their life, always bring them back to the breathing. I have a student, my first happiness student ever, very, very consistent for a while. And then she'll call me, so and so happened, this relationship is happening, this boy said this. And absolutely, I'm listening and I'm hearing, but I'm always in my response, bringing her back to the knowledge and bringing her back to the breath. And then I get a message that night, oh yes, I did my meditation, I feel so much better. And I was like, you know what? That's how it works. Let's do it again. And if anytime somebody calls me and they have a problem, I will say, oh, why don't you come and meditate with me? So that they can feel it. They have the evidence, the proof for themselves. And once they feel that difference, if I keep bringing them back to it, they will eventually start to bring themselves back to it. And I think that proof and experience is more effective than anything we can give in terms of trying to persuade and, cajole or encourage. We bring them back to the proof, and we also demonstrate the proof by living our own practice. I can't say, oh, you're skipping your breathing if I'm not skipping, if I'm doing the same thing. And then when people ask me, oh, how did you manage to go to school full time and do a PhD and volunteer and do teacher training? I was like, well, I have this fancy thing called the Sudarshan Kriya. Want to learn about it? So it's, 20 minutes of breathing gives me so much energy. Otherwise, how could I possibly do all the things that I do?
This is a very nice suggestion that you have given. Like, when someone calls with a problem, come do meditation with me, and this is a very nice thing. Actually, we all can follow this. There are many people who are watching this session. If you want to ask something, you can please unmute, or if you want to share some experience or something like that, or any gratitude also, you can just unmute yourself and ask. Yes, or share. The option is Mukesh ji, you want to say something?
Yeah. Hi, Susan. I have a question on your last part. The example that you gave very beautifully about you call people, come meditate with me, do the Sudarshan Kriya, and then feel the difference between energy earlier and now. I just have a small question on this one. It might be a silly example, but just to put my point across, we put something in the spoon and it's empty before, and we have something on the spoon, so we can clearly see it and measure it. So that way, like I've been doing Kriya for a little over a year every day. But very honestly, so nicely that you explained about the difference, that you have extra energy. I'm not sure I really sense that much difference in energy. So can you just explain this a little bit more? How do we tend to see or feel the energy more after doing it than? Thanks.
For me, it was the same. I didn't have a really strong experience with my initial Kriya. I didn't initially feel the difference in energy. And it's probably good that you don't, because it wasn't until my energy went very, 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 very low that I was able to start to feel the difference. And it's also with that combination of the Kriya itself is powerful, but when you combine that Kriya with the meditation and then the second meditation, then for me, that was the game changer, because I was always really good at the Kriya in the first meditation, but that second Sahaj is so elusive. I'm still working on getting it consistently. But that is like all of a sudden I could sleep. for years I didn't sleep, but till I added that second Sahaj, it just was a total game changer for me. So for all of us, it'll be different. But it also, because our days are so full, we may think that one Sahaj is good, but one Sahaj is really just wiping away the clutter from like morning to noon. We're still collecting clutter from noon to night. And so I would say if you haven't done Sahaj, then try adding your Sahaj. And also, if you're really consistent without feeling that difference in energy, just know that it's there. You don't have to go my path of like testing the experiment to find out how much suffering I can handle. Just trust that it is there, because you would
Thank
notice
you.
that
Yeah.
it's
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
You're saying something?
You
Okay.
said you will notice. You were saying something. Sorry.
I say you will notice the difference if you were to stop and your energy would decrease, but I wouldn't take that experiment.
Thank you.
Yes,
I think it was a tough question and you answered it very well. I get it. So it's there. I don't have to worry. It's accumulating, and I get the message loud and clear. Thank you so much.
If you've
yes,
done optimizing energy, they have those different levels of energy. And when your energy is already very high, you don't notice the difference so much, but you'll notice if you stop and it drops.
absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yes. Anyone else want to share something or ask something? They can unmute themselves and ask or share. Yes. Like in this session, the people are very fond of guru stories. We have shared a couple of them, but any guru story like where you felt like the presence of master, you like to share some situation or some guru story.
I have to think about it because I feel like my whole life is one big guru story. um, and I haven't interacted with him very much because I'm so far away. But I think the most, because I see Guru Grace in everything in my life, it's difficult to pinpoint a specific story. But two that kind of come to mind for me was, and it's very simple, but I was going for a silence course in the ashram, and the Canadian ashram is in the middle of nowhere. And it was the middle of winter, and the ashram kept calling me and saying, can you pick up people? Can you pick up this person, this person, this person? So I had a whole car full of people to pick up, people I'd never met. And there was a huge storm, massive, massive winter storm. And normally it takes about 6 hours to get to the ashram. But I drove slowly, slowly, one by one, picking people up. And it took about 11 and a half hours to get there. And about 8 hours in, it just so, and I drive a manual car, so nobody can drive my car because most people in Canada don't drive manual. So we got there in the middle of the night, and I got a message from the ashram saying that the highway is closed. You can't take the highway. You have to go through the small roads. And there's no GPS. There's no directions. So I don't know how to get there. And it just so happened that one of the people they had me pick up was someone who used to live at the ashram, who knew how to drive manual. So he was able to drive us all the way through the snowstorm for the last 3 hours. And it was funny because he kept asking me, you know, people always talk about grace. What is this grace? And I was like, we are living grace right now. Like, we are in the middle of a horrible snowstorm in a place where there's no directions on tiny little roads that I would never have been able to navigate myself because I didn't even know this route existed. And he just happened to be there with me and take us safely there. And the whole time, even by the time we got there, he still was like, I don't understand this grace.
Well,
That was the
actually,
one.
you are actually the part of that grace. Like it's
Yeah,
is the vision we should have to see it. Absolutely.
exactly. That's why I just feel like it's so hard to pick just one moment. Like sometimes it's so small, but if you have the lens where you see things as grace, suddenly everything is grace. Like I woke up one night in the middle of the night and I was all of a sudden thinking about school. It's very unlike me. Unlike me. I never do this. And I woke up with the thought, I'm never going to graduate. And I pulled out all my books and I looked at all the calendars. And I realized that if I didn't submit my documents the following week, I would miss the deadline for graduation and I would have to pay another $4,000 in tuition. And I woke up in the middle of the night, thought about all these things, did all this research, wrote it all down, sent an email to my supervisor, went back to sleep. And it worked out that because I did that on that day, I was able to get everything in place for me to graduate 2 days before the deadline.
Oh,
And for me, most people, that's Susan, you're crazy. You're waking up in the middle of the night. But for me, I'm like, I thought Gurudev has something he wants me to do, and he needs me to finish school so I can be ready for it. And this is why he's waking me up in the middle of the night. That's how I understood it. And so it's just that how we look at things can be grace or can be me. But for me, I was like, no, Guruji has something he needs me to do. He needs me to finish this PhD so I can do whatever is needed. And this is why he's waking me up. And it's
absolutely.
true. It's been incredible. He's ever since I became a teacher in October, he's given me so many opportunities to teach and to be in the knowledge, and I wouldn't have had the time or space to do a PhD in the middle of all of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Means we should have that lens. And few days back, I heard a Gurudev's video. He said that grace is already there. What should I do? I should put a stamp or what, something like that. And he was like, I was feeling that yes, it's us that we should be in that zone. And that video has some means it shifted something inside me. And your session also means 1 hour have passed and it was so flawless. And we felt that grace happening each and every time. And thank you so much for coming and telling all your experiences. It will benefit a lot of people who will watch it. And people who are watching it on YouTube, make sure you share this session to maximum people so that they can also be more inclined in this path and they can also help people like you are doing uh, for IAH when you're doing so many things, and we hope that you carry on the same. And thank you so much for all this which we have told, and it was a wonderful session. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been such a blessing to
Is there
just
any last word you want to say to all the people who are watching this? Any concluding note?
um I just the only thing that's coming to my mind right now is to just really live live to the best of your ability all of this knowledge that we've been given, and nothing else you'll have to worry about, right? The more we think it's all about service, is all about putting our attention to the people outside of us. But if you put that attention first to yourself and really be consistent in your sadhana and aware of your mind and your energy and live all of this beautiful knowledge we've been given, everything outside of you happens. When a silent teacher told me, if you put your attention on the subtle, the gross will manifest. And so I remember I had, before my exam, my PhD exam, I studied for a week. And finally, I gave up. I was like, there's no way I can learn all of this. And I just meditated. I did so much Padma Sadhana. And I went to bed early. I read some Yoga Vashishta. I woke up in the morning. I did more Padma Sadhana. And that just allowed, when the questions came, for me to just answer. And it was incredible to see that in action, that when I put my attention on the subtle, and the gross just manifested itself. So have faith in yourself and have faith in our guru, because he is the best guru.
Actually, at last, I just want to say, because you have mentioned about Yog Vashishta, what are your views about it, and how do you feel when you read it?
I'm still in the very early stages of Yoga Vashishta, and it's just endlessly beautiful. It's like the same simple message wrapped in a million different types of gift wrap. And I love it. That constant reminder that it's just this beautiful constant reminder of all of these things that our minds get caught up in, the relationships and the job and the house and the this. They're really not that important. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Susan ma'am, and thank you so much, everyone who are watching this. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Guru.
Now everyone can unmute
Jai
and
Gurudev. Thank you.
Jai Gurudev. It was wonderful. Yeah, all the experiences and all. My God, fantastic.
Thank you.
I loved listening to it.
For me, it was an eye opener about the grace
Yeah.
part, and what you said about the energy. So even if
Yeah.
little energy I feel, or I feel I missed it, but it's there, I think that itself is also big grace. And that realization came in today because of that. And thanks.
Yes.
So that was so
Yes.
beautiful. So even our
Yes.
doing every day and every moment and breath, even as a breathing is itself is a grace. So all these
Yeah.
three things you linked in today's session. So thank you so much
Right.
for that.
Yeah, that was great. And I shall start Yoga Vashishta from today then. I was yet to start with it. Now I'll start.
Even just one page every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I shall.
It's a nice reminder.
Yeah. Wonderful it was talking. I mean, listening to you, it was, my God, grace. Yeah.
Probably even I got an answer to one of the questions that I had in my mind for very long, whether I should go for TTC or not, because I always felt that I haven't done enough. No, I haven't done enough seva, so I'm still not eligible. I'm not perfect to be a teacher, but as you explained, let him give a chance to mold you into that divine, thing. Then I think that I should go for it.
Not I think. I will.
Yeah.
Intention, attention, manifestation. Once you set that intention, everything will come. I had like 3 registrations when I decided that I was going to go. And then all of a sudden, everywhere I went, I was registering people. And by the time TTC came, I had my number.
This is the thing, because every TTC has got a certain set of seva. So if I think I have been doing seva like since I joined Art of Living, like 4.5 years it's been now, but I can't make so much of registration, though I try hard. And my teachers forced me, no, go for TTC. That's okay. Gurudev will look into it. But I feel, no, I haven't justified yet. I'm not eligible for it. Then I think, how will I be organizing this course when I become a teacher? If I haven't done enough as a volunteer, how I'm going
Good night,
to
Sadhguru.
It's subtle, but I would say go for it. The learning continues. It's not like you work and once you reach this standard, you become a teacher. No, you work and work, you become a teacher, and you work and work and work. So
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll be organizing before you're a teacher. You'll be organizing after you're a teacher. If you go for TTC, you'll be a much stronger organizer because all of that doubt, all of the stuff that holds you down will get molded off of you. They'll get sculpted away.
Absolutely.
And also, there are so many different ways to serve. We think of it as just teaching courses, but there are so many volunteers doing different sevas, and so many teachers become a teacher because of their teaching courses, and their seva ends up being something different. I teach courses and I organize courses, but I spend my 50, 60 hours of the week doing, research and administration and organizing programs, which is a totally different way of serving.
True.
Just
Yes.
go knowing you are enough. Let Gurudev decide, because he knows.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, I hope many people are getting benefit out of this. Yes, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Okay. Anyone else wanting to say something? Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, and make sure all the people who are watching this subscribe to this channel so that you can get daily many teachers and you can get benefit out of their experiences and knowledge. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much once again, Susan ma'am, also for coming and being a part.